Law is complicated English, and my joy is to uncomplicate it for you. So let's begin. So, the first case that I'm going to discuss is a landmark case in child custody matters. Cross applications were filed throughout the case, and there was not a single bench judge of Madras High Court which had not heard the matters. And the case came all the way up to the Supreme Court in 1970s. And I'm going to break it down for you in the way I have explained in my first talk how custody matters are supposed to be seen. There were three children born out of the marriage. The eldest son was living with the father, and the younger two, one daughter was about to attain the age of puberty, and one son was under the care of mother. And he was doing well, he was in a nursery school. Mother was a school teacher. So there were three disqualifications against the father. One was that the mother had obtained a decree of divorce on the grounds of cruelty. So it is a case of proven cruelty by the father of the children. Now, second ground of disqualification against the father was the negative test that we are referring to is there were no female relatives available to look after the children when the father is away at work. The third ground, which was against the father, was that the father was not doing well in his profession. Now I am talking about the disqualification of the mother in this particular case. There was an unproven allegation against the mother that she was adulterous. One thing which was going in favor of the mother was that the second child was about to attain puberty. There is an inclination of courts in cases where custody of preteen daughters is always given to the mother. I have seen a case where, very closely, where the court was inclined to give the custody of the preteen daughter to the mother, even when there was a strong circumstantial evidence against the mother for adultery. But since the case was ongoing and the trial had not completed, therefore, the ground of adultery was unproven. So, by the time the case came up in appeal, the appellate court decided that even if the mother is adulterous or immoral, the allegation is yet to be proved. And the court had ordered the custody of the minor children to be handed over to the mother. This is a different case that I'm talking about of years, very recent years. Coming back to this case, the third son was in formative years. So, again, the custody of a small child under the age of 6, a child who is in formative years, is usually given to the mother. One big consideration that went in favor of the mother in this particular case was that the mother owned a primary school. And while the father did not have a primary female figure at home to look after the children while he was away, the mother had established profession. She was doing well, and she was running a primary school where the youngest child could attain education easily. So this was a very strong factor that the court considered. In this case, the court had also made an observation that police interference in a civil nature of custody should have been avoided and could have been avoided, and it took strong note of that. Basically, in this case, Section 25 had come under challenge, where it was alleged that father has the first right over his children. But the court held that no such indefensible right is available to the father. He has to prove his bona fide, he has to pass the positive test. The first and foremost consideration that the courts in India gave is that the paramount welfare of the children has to be decided. So this is a positive test. Positive tests were considered against father and mother, but ultimately they decided that it's two minor children, the daughter and the youngest son, continued with the mother, and the oldest son continued with the father. Because the oldest son was found to be doing well in school and he was attached to his father, opinion of the children was not sought by the court. So this, in my humble opinion, I feel that in those times the children have been asked about their choice, with whom they want to stay, and based on that the decision could have been made. The court also took note that children are not mere playthings or chattels of their parents, allowed the continuation of custody of oldest sibling with the father and the younger two siblings with the mother. Although I personally feel siblings should not be separated. Oldest son should also have had an opportunity of having mother's love in his life. In this case, there was a strong allegation against the father that he had committed cruelty towards the oldest Jeet. Based on that ground, the mother had filed the custody petition for having also. But ultimately, when the case was decided, the custody of the oldest son continued with the father as he was doing very well in school. His choice is not expressed in the judgment anyway, that his choice was considered by the judges. This has also been one critical of this particular judge. The second case that I'm going to discuss about child custody is a Supreme Court judgment of the 90s, late 90s. So here the mother and father of the child were married in early 80s and the father was residing in USA. 10 months after the marriage, the mother left the husband and took her days old child and came back to India. So then there was a continuous litigation between both the parties. Now, the settled custody of the child since day one was with the mother for the past 14 years. And the court observed that the disqualifications against the father was that he had a subsisting marriage with another woman and he had gotten divorced on the basis of cruelty. On the grounds of cruelty, the first wife had gotten divorced. There was an allegation for divorce, but at the time he entered into marriage with this particular mother, his first marriage was already subsisting. So the wife, prima facie, had a very strong case against the father. Prima facie, the accusations, the disqualification, negative test against the father was that there was an already pre-existing marriage and there was allegation of domestic violence and cruelty against the father of the child. Also, the court was not convinced by the father's plea that his sister and the brother-in-law, who already have 3 daughters, would accompany the child to USA with him. So that was one reassurance the father was trying to give to the court, that the child will have other caretakers also. But the court was not convinced. Now, the disqualifying allegations against the mother of the child was that she was a working woman and there was nobody to look after the child while she is at work, and she was commuting from Bombay to Pune frequently. But the mother of the child had established that the grandmother of the child, the maternal grandmother of the child, was a constant caretaker of the child in the absence of the mother. And she was well employed, she was a government employee, and she had made arrangements in every way to look after the child. And the most important factor being that there was the settled custody of 14 years of the child with the mother. The second most important factor that the court took into account in this particular case was that the child was unwilling to even visit the father or even stay with the father. And the child was so traumatized that the child even refused to come to the court when the court had asked the child to come to the court. And the court had ordered the mother to bring the child to the court. The child was so traumatized that he refused to come to the court. So the appellate court took the view that the High Court should probably have been more sensitive to the fact that the child is traumatized and not held this against the mother, that she is not producing the child before the court. And courts have to be more sensitive in this case. The court in this particular case had sat with the child, had examined the child and recorded the expressed desire of the child. Come to an understanding that the child was intelligent enough to decide for himself what the child wanted. Now, where the court finds that the children are intelligent enough, then the court seldom interferes in the choice of the child. So here the child had expressly said that he wants to live with the mother, and when he grows up and maybe when he is in 10+2, he can visit the father in USA. Important factor here being that the child was a US citizen by birth and had the liberty to commute from India to US anytime. The Supreme Court did not feel inclined to interfere with the custody of the child, which was continuing with the mother. Also observed that the conduct of the father was more towards winning the custody battle than being concerned about the welfare of the child, because this continuous litigation was causing anxiety in the mind of the child. You have to see that the Supreme Court did not consider an American court's ex parte order of granting the sole custody of the child to the father, because it was an ex parte case. The Supreme Court also did not intervene on the plea of the father, saying that he is financially better off to look after the education of the child and welfare of the child. The court gave importance to the choice of the child and the capability of the mother, who was a government employee and who was taking the best care of the child since past 14 years. Court did pass remarks against the High Court order in this particular judgment. So the third case that I'm going to talk about, this is about a wife who was a teacher, and she left her matrimonial home. She claimed that she had been driven out of the matrimonial home because of cruelty when the child was roughly about the age of 2 to 3, and then thereafter she filed the custody petition, and the High Court did not allow it. The case came up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did not interfere in the custody of the child, which was a settled custody with the father of the child. Now, the wife's allegation against the father was that he was an alcoholic. He lied to her about his occupational status. The lady was a teacher, she was doing well. She also alleged that the child will study better, do better with the mother, because she was herself a teacher and she was earning well and could support her child with the help of private tuitions and her job as a teacher. So the established fact was that the father had already paid for the admission of the child, and the child was very happy in the custody of the father. And when the Supreme Court examined the child, it was suggested to him that he should go to his mother and see how things work out. So the child was very, very disturbed and very anxious and refused outrightly, started crying, started whining, and refused to go to the mother. So here the Supreme Court in Supreme Court's considered view, the custody of the child was not disturbed because it was the child's wish to stay on with his father. And the court was also convinced that the father could look after the educational needs and the welfare of the child. And there was no evidence to show that there was peril to the child's life. The custody of the child continued with the father. In this case, the mother, despite being a teacher, despite having nursed the child in the formative years, and despite having good education, financial background, could not get the custody of the child, which was a settled custody in the hands of the father, and the father had been providing a stable home, stable education to the child. And most importantly, it was the wish of the child that he continues with his father and that mother would visit him anytime she wanted. So the Supreme Court did not disturb the custody of the child in this case. This fourth case that I am discussing is also of Supreme Court of late 2000. So in this, the mother had died and the father was accused of dowry death. There was a minor daughter who was in settled custody of grandparents and maternal uncle. The father had lodged a custody case for the minor daughter. Both the lower court and the high court had held that as such there was no disqualification against the father because the trial was pending. But the Supreme Court considered that it fit for the High Court to and the lower court to have considered the character of the guardian before handing over the custody to the father. Both lower court and High Court had passed the order that from grandparents who had the settled custody of the child, the custody be given to the father. The Supreme Court had questioned the wish of the child, and the child had categorically and unequivocally expressed the desire to live with the grandparents, where she was also admitted in a very good school and was getting quality education. So here, where the father is undergoing a dowry death case, court had rightly, in my opinion, reversed the High Court order of granting the custody to the father, and instead allowed the continuation of the settled custody of the granddaughter with the maternal grandparents, because the father was accused of dowry death. The fifth case that I'm going to talk about is also a Supreme Court judgment in which the settled custody of the child was with the father. But the father was accused of already having a first wife who had committed suicide within 6 months of the marriage, and there were pending CBI cases of dowry, death, and cruelty against the so on and so forth against the father. Now, the father was also accused of not having a permanent residence, whisking away the child from the custody of the mother while she was attending to household chores, sending away the child to an unknown place in Delhi, and moving from one place to another and not having a permanent residence. And even though the father made a statement to the effect that the child will be looked after by other relatives of the father, no other relative stepped into the witness box. The conduct of the father had showed that he had no regard for rule of law, and therefore the Supreme Court affirmed the decision of the High Court that the custody of the child should be handed over to the mother, and should be taken away from the settled custody of the father. So here the conduct of the parties is very an important consideration in the mind of the court. Father who filed for custody of his children, and his minor children were in the settled custody of the maternal grandparents. The wife had died of bone cancer, and the father remarried just 1 year later. Allegation against the father was that he had no attachment towards the children, and they were in settled custody of the maternal grandparents and maternal uncles and aunts. Remarriage is not a disqualification in losing the custody of your children. Now, in this case, it was established that the father really loved the first wife, who had died of cancer. He had even bought a house in the name of his wife, and he had even purchased an insurance policy in the name of his wife. He had also provided high quality education to the children. While the wife was undergoing treatment, it was fully sponsored by the husband. So here there was as such no disqualification against the father other than the fact that he remarried. And the grandparents here had surreptitiously kept the custody of the children. But over a period of time, both the minor children had very strong affection towards the maternal grandparents. Now, this is tricky because the High Court considered the wish of the child, which was to stay with the maternal grandparents. The guardianship petition was pending in the lower court. So the Supreme Court kept in mind the personal laws of the party, which were Mohammedan laws. And as per Mohammedan laws, the children are supposed to be in the custody of the maternal aunt. And the High Court and court both were convinced. The Supreme Court particularly held that the grandparents and the maternal aunt is going to provide sufficient love and affection to the children till pending disposal of the guardianship petition by the lower court. The Supreme Court also passed strictures against the trial court, in which it particularly said that the trial court should have delved deeper to find out the motive of the maternal grandparents, which was to usurp the property which was in the name of their deceased daughter. Therefore, they had kept the custody of the grandchildren. And it was also a fact that the maternal grandfather was 72 years of age, was a senior citizen. One uncle was already married or living separately. He was also divorced, and his wife had already filed cases of cruelty against him, and he already had a mentally retarded daughter to look after, so he was ridden with responsibilities. The other two maternal uncles were of the ripe age of getting married, and soon they would also be involved in their own matrimonial life. The aunt who swore that she is single and she even gave up her job to look after the children was given the custody of the children as per the Mohammedan laws. Till such time, the lower court decides the guardianship petition. So, here the Supreme Court had passed strictures against the lower court for non delving deep into the matter and finding the real motive of why the grandchildren were kept away from the rightful custody of the father who was alive, and how they were more interested in usurping the property which was in the name of their deceased daughter. Therefore, the conduct of the parties is very important while deciding a custody petition. As you must have noticed, I have not spoken the names of the parties. I have avoided them wherever possible. And I have also not revealed the identity of the children. I have tried my best, even though these judgments are in the public domain. What we need to understand is that they are real people of whose lives which have been documented in a public domain. So, and they were minor children at the time, and now they are grown up children, and they may not be comfortable in listening to their case files in the legal discussions. So, out of respect for their privacy, even though it's everything is in public domain, I have tried to show some sensitivity towards the families who have undergone so much turmoil. Another thing that you must have noticed is that I have tried to make the conversation very simple, and it is devoid of legal jargon as far as possible, because the intention here is for people to understand what is the right way ahead in a situation that they may find themselves in presently. The next case that I am discussing now is that of an army officer who had the settled custody of his minor daughter from the age of 21 months to 8 years. Now, the wife, without any delay, had filed a custody petition. So, the trump card in the favor of the husband was that he was in the settled position of the minor daughter. The disqualification that he was a alcoholic, and that when he at work, the orderly or the sahayak is going to look after the minor daughter. But if he goes to a non-family station, then who will look out after the daughter? Because the grandparents are old. There are also instances where he had flouted the orders of the military authorities of producing the child before the concerned authority, and he had also flouted the orders of the civil courts to produce the child in the court. The court had also considered it fit to appoint a psychologist to assess the choice of the child. The psychologist had given the report that the child is at a very sensitive stage and is very deeply attached with the father, and thinks it fit that in her best interest that her custody should remain with the father. The settled custody is with the father, and the choice of the child is to stay with the father. But the Supreme Court did not give the custody of the child to the father because there were allegations of alcoholism, the hazards that come with the military life. The court also felt that it is in the best interest of that little daughter who is in a preteen stage to have the mother's love, and the mother was presently not able to visit the child, meet the child, talk to the child. So the court considered it fit to give the settled custody to the mother and give visiting rights to the father, so that when the child is growing up, she would warm up to mother's love and affection also over the years. She will have the love and affection of both parents, because right now she was very bitter. Another case in which the mother had paranoid schizophrenia and the settled custody of the child. So the custody of the child was given from the settled custody of the child was given from the mother to the father, because the mother was also very cruel towards the child. So this is a very recent Supreme Court judgment. The other case is that of a couple who were married in USA, and they came to India to attend a wedding, and they had a minor daughter, and the wife was pregnant at the time they had come to India to attend a wedding. Now the wife refused to go back to the USA. The father filed a case before the High Court, and during the course of the arguments, the mother agreed to go back and settle down with the husband. So, on that undertaking of the mother, the High Court dismissed the husband's appeal with the assurance that the wife is going to go back and stay with the husband, and then it was a happy ending. So, I have discussed at least 10 judgments with you by now. I am not keeping the count. So, in those judgments, you must have seen an underlining sentiment of the court that preteen daughters and child of 0 to 6 years of age, usually the custody is given to the mothers. Only in exceptional circumstances will the court deviate from the settled principles of law. So now I'm going to tell you a case where the parents at the time of the divorce, the wife had agreed that the custody of the minor daughters will be with the husband. Later, when the challenge to custody was made, it was the wish of both the daughters to stay with the father. And the court had also observed that both the daughters were happy in the custody of the father. So the court did not disturb the settled custody that remained with the father. Daughters were always open to meet their mother or stay with the mother after obtaining the age of 18. What happens in custody cases is that there is a tug of war between both parents, and as a result, there is a competition for parents to win the love of the child. As a consequence of which, the child becomes very spoiled, very pampered, and there can be adjustment, temperamental issues with the child when the child grows up to be an individual adult. The other case that I am talking about is that of a father who had settled custody of his 12-year-old daughter. As such, there was no disqualification against him or the mother. But the father had the settled custody of the minor daughter who was 12 years old, who had already obtained puberty, and her interest, her educational interest, and her welfare was being well looked after by the father. The father had no other responsibility upon him as the grandparents were pensioners. So, in the best interest of the child and the attachment of the child towards the father, it was decided by the court that the custody of the minor daughter, who was 12 years old, would continue with the father. As you have seen in other cases, a preteen daughter's custody is usually handed over to the mother. I have also seen cases even where there is a very big allegation against the mother of indulging illicit relationship outside of the marriage. Even then, the courts are more sensitive towards the mother having the custody of a preteen daughter. This next case is very interesting, where the mother was already footing the expenses of the daughter's education, and there was a son who was 16 years old and a 11-year-old daughter. The mother was doing financially well, she was well settled. The father, who claimed to earn 125 rupees to some 150 rupees per day, at presently he was living in his own taxi. So the mother wanted the minor daughter's custody, and she insisted that her children be sent to the boarding school so that the minor daughter could have a better environment, especially because it was seen that the minor daughter was under a psychological strain because she was being poisoned against her own mother. So the court had decided that in the best interest of the child, the custody of the children should be given to the mother, who can look after their needs better, and she could provide a stable financial support and psychological support and good education to the children. You can share my videos to spread the knowledge.